pleasure to be here to launch the Yes2AV cross-party campaign. We're here because a yes vote on May the 5th will, in my view, be good for voters and good for democracy. The case for AV is fundamentally a case for political change. If people are happy with politics as usual, then they should vote no. But if not, they should vote yes.
How is it fair that elections are increasingly decided by just a handful of people in marginal seats? The Institute for Public Policy Research estimates it was just 460,000 voters who made the difference at the last election, just 1.6% of the electorate. But with AV, MPs have to reach out beyond a handful of voters and address the wider issues that affect their constituencies.
The politicians have to work beyond their narrow party base and narrow single-issue concerns to reach a broader swathe of the electorate. AV actually is a system that is an anti-extremist system, and one that enables, as Ed was saying earlier, the progressive majority to come through.
Let me say first of all that AV is not a hugely complex system, which some of its critics suggest. It's as easy as putting 1, 2, 3 instead of a single cross, but it makes a huge difference to the effect on politics. Britain, I think, for a very long time has been split on what one might call tribal political grounds. It's now possible for somebody to win a safe seat and keep it for years on the basis of less than a third of the vote. It's about time that we actually created an electoral system that drew on the strengths of all people and that enabled this country to be governed more effectively and to be governed on the basis of thinking through what the long-term needs of our country are.
There is only one choice on the ballot paper: change versus the same old politics. And I passionately believe that now is the time for something better, something that allows more people to fully express their political choices, something that will engage them in the political process because they know they have a chance of influencing it. How many times do politicians and commentators decry the poor turnout at elections? But in a way, it's not very surprising that turnout is falling when people don't believe that their vote makes any difference.
Every MP will have to work hard for your vote rather than being protected by a medieval voting system. Don't think that the MP's expenses scandal came out of a system, an expenses system that was wrong. No, it came out of a culture of complacency and arrogance shored up by the fact that 2/3 of MPs have safe seats for life. Voting yes will make sure that every vote counts. The scandal of wasted votes will be changed. And what kind of democracy allows 2/3 of us to be stuck with an MP that we voted against?
Under the current first-past-the-post system, people are often voting for their second or their third choice because they feel that their first choice has absolutely no chance at all.
AV would let people be honest about their first choices and still have a say in who wins. It will make our lives more difficult, but we should welcome that pressure as part of building a stronger, healthier politics. The rules of politics shouldn't be designed to suit politicians, they should exist to suit the electorate. And in my view, AV will make it easier to hold politicians to account, put pressure on candidates to campaign, and make it essential to get the support of more people locally.
It's a small change which both keeps the essential constituency link between a Member of Parliament and the people that they represent, but also means that a Member of Parliament will be elected by at least 50% of those who turn out to vote. So a small change, but the very least that people who come out to vote and then support us are entitled to expect. So I hope that people will come out on the 5th of May, will come out to vote, including in those areas like London that don't have other elections. This is a once in the next 20, 30 years chance, so don't lose it.
And that's why I will be supporting a yes vote on May the 5th.
What the next few generations will remember is whether we bottled this chance for change or whether we seized it.
And I say to all those broadly based who detest the grotesque distortions of the first-past-the-post political system, seize that chance for change and vote yes. Thank you.
Now, it's a chance for any of the journalists who are with us to ask some questions now.
This referendum mustn't be about particular personalities. It's not about a referendum on Nick Clegg. It's not about a referendum on David Cameron. It's about whether you want to change your voting system. And that is the most important thing to emphasise. And if I can put it this way, I think this array of people that we have here today coming together from different parties emphasises that fact. And my strong appeal and urge to the voters of this country, including Labour voters, who are very angry about some of the things this Conservative-led government is doing, is to say, vote Labour on May the 5th in the elections that are taking place, but please look at the national interest, look at the way we can change politics in the referendum, and don't use that as a stick to beat the government with.
If you look at each part of the United Kingdom, each tier of representation which has moved away from first past the post in its various shapes and forms into other voting systems, nobody now, even the Conservatives in Scotland, and my God, it doesn't come much more die-hard than the Conservatives in Scotland. I mean, those of us who argued for a PR system with a top-up regional list in Scotland, we threw down the ropes to help the Conservatives back into a position of semi-elected respectability, if you like. And even they now are saying they wouldn't move back to first past the post in Scotland. So the demand, I think, is where the consumer actually votes with their feet. Nobody, once you move away from first past the post, says, let's go back to it. That's the resonance of the demand.
I mean, there's no mistake. I mean, I'm sure, both the Green Party and the Liberal Democrats make it clear we're in favour of proportional representation. But I think Darren made the very important point, which is this is a very, very British change. This is an evolutionary change. There's nothing massively radical about the fact that we're going to have one MP per constituency. You will still have that same engagement. The House of Commons will look very similar to what it does now. You would vote in a fairer and more plural way. So there'll be some people, we'll probably disagree in terms of what eventual position we might end up in. The point is this is electoral reform on the table for the first time in our lifetimes. And if we lose, it'll be for the last time. And it's so important that we take this step forward. And I think Caroline said, don't let the best be the enemy of the good. This is a good system. It's a huge improvement on the medieval nonsense we currently labour under. The bottom line is, when it comes down to it, we are on the same page about believing that we need a change in the electoral system. And what is on the ballot paper is a chance to vote yes for a much better electoral system that means everybody's vote actually counts.
One of the things that I think we haven't talked about much, but really needs to be said, is that in this country you get huge changes of policy between one minority government and the next. Look at health, look at education, look at quite a lot of other things. And so as a country we look at revolutionary changes which are based upon a minority, a small minority sometimes in the electorate. And one has to ask whether that's very sensible, because often these changes involve huge costs, huge disruption, huge difficulties, not in any event what the majority of the electorate wants to see.
Gavin Corden, Press Association for Tim. Can I ask, how important is turnout in the referendum, and how confident are you that your Conservative partners in government would push through the legislation if you got a yes vote on a very low turnout?
We had the debate in Parliament as to whether there would be a turnout clause. It was agreed that there would not be a minimum turnout, and so I'm absolutely confident that the Conservatives will carry through their part of the bargain. And in terms of turnout, obviously, it's important we do get a decent turnout. If you look at the turnout in the Welsh referendum just a few weeks ago, massively higher than people were predicting. I think we underestimate how much democratic change matters to people down this country.